Hello and welcome to Two Bens and a Tim, brought to you by the Sci-Fi Christian. I'm Ben DeBono.
I'm Tim Pankratz.
And I'm Ben Kirkwell.
And we are back to talk to you about Game of Thrones Season 3, Episode 5, Kissed by Fire. But first, as always, dudes being dudes. So, first, what are we smoking tonight, gentlemen? I have in my Boswell pipe, my second Boswell pipe, I have Trout Stream, which we've talked about before.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I'm doing Trout Stream again here too.
Oh, man.
Like Caminetto, I think.
I am also doing Trout Stream. I was going to go Squadron Leader, but I decided to go Trout Stream.
Squadron Leader's on deck for me, sitting there in the Caminetto, so we'll get there. But then for drinking tonight, we have a very special beverage. So a little bit of preface to this, maybe. You've taught me how to brew now.
I have.
And I made my first solo batch yesterday, which went well. But before I learned how to actually brew, I got a Mr. Beer kit a while ago. And for the viewers at home, Ben, describe for us what exactly Mr. Beer
So a Mr.
is.
Beer kit is a plastic jug that you get.
Shaped like
And
a keg.
Yeah, shaped like a keg. And you throw some paste of some sort into some water. And then you boil that and put it in this plastic jug. And it just makes me angry to even think about how...
Yeah, it's a little more elaborate than that. I mean, so I had my jar of malt extract,
Right.
hopped malt extract. So everything's just in there. And then there was a booster pack that I poured into it. So this is my last batch of Mr. Beer that I will ever do. And you are going to take your first drink as a true beer connoisseur.
I'm so excited. Well,
Is that everything you thought it would be?
Yes, yeah. There is very little to no flavor, and it just, I don't know, it tastes like if Mick Golden and, I don't even know, like Bud Light had a dark baby. It's like...
Actually, the first Mr. Beer kit I did was like a Belgian golden ale, and it tasted roughly the same. So
It didn't really matter as a kid.
Oh man,
it's a little different.
It's the same paste. You can never know. I mean, it just looks.
Well, the
exactly-
booster kit made this a little bit higigher alcohol content, so that's kind of nice.
Okay.
What do you think of Mr. Beer, Tim?
Yeah, so I'm actually enjoying it over here, but I will have to preface that by saying, yesterday I was downtown, and the Twins game was going on, so they had a bunch of bars had specials, and one of them was the $2 mystery can. And so I got a few mystery cans, and it was Hams and Red Dog, I think, and so this is a step up from Red Dog, I'd say. So,
Hey!
yeah.
And you like drinking cheap crap sometimes, we've talked about.
Yeah,
so-
every once in a while I'll drink some cheap beer.
So this is right up your alley.
Yeah, yeah.
So maybe I should hang on to the Mr. Beer kit, because I still have another. I have another jar of malt extract that we can make, and it's actually to make Mexican beer. So
Well, I was gonna say, this kind of tastes like a Dos Equis Dark to me.
Oh.
They have like an amber or something.
Yeah,
it's
but
kind of
they're
similar.
no, this is supposed to be German Oktoberfest.
Okay, so this.
Oh, is that what it's?
That's what it's supposed to be.
Okay.
But Mexican beer, a little cerveza through the Mr. Beer filter. That could be one for the ages.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's. I almost get a root beer hint out of there too. I don't know. It's just kind of a weird.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's got some stuff in it. Yeah. So I don't know.
So
Clarity is good. That's always a good thing in beer that you're looking for. So you did it right.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I followed the instructions.
And there you go.
Yeah, they weren't tough. I gotta say that this new process is way more elaborate. Mr. Beer, they basically tell you leave it in the plastic keg for 2 weeks, bottle it, then drink it a week later. And that's all there is to it.
So, how long till your first batch is done here then? Are we gonna get to enjoy it any of these reviews? I don't think so, right?
Probably not, because we've
Okay.
only got 5 weeks left. So 2 weeks primary fermentation, 2 to 4 secondary, and then another 1 to 2 of conditioning in the bottle.
Yeah.
So that's going to be about 2 months, yeah.
Well, if you cut it, so if you do the minimum of everything, it sounds like that's about 5 weeks,
Yeah, I
right?
can get there. Yeah, we can.
I don't know if you want to
Yeah,
rush
I
it.
don't
or
know.
just finish it.
We could maybe crack a bottle open early.
Yeah,
It just won't. It'll just be flat.
yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't want to ruin your first batch.
For the sake of the videos, about maybe we'll do another. I'll save a bottle of Mr. Beer and we can do a comparison,
Oh, there you
taste
go.
test. So, anyway, couple comments. Comment on first. Your wife commented,
Yes.
and took me to task because the actor who plays Jojen Reed, it turns out, is actually the little twerp from Love Actually.
Which is surprising to me too, because he's 22 years old, and he doesn't look that old
No.
on the screen at all.
No, he does not. So your wife Shauna thinks she should now be in charge of the reviews.
Yeah, which that was because I told her I mentioned it on the reviews. We just watched that portion of the video, since she didn't get a chance to watch last week's episode until tonight. So she was pretty excited. I think she got a little overzealous. I don't think she has any aspirations to take over.
Whoa.
Easy.
I mean, kids at home, just bleep that part in your mind.
There are kids at home watching Game of Thrones. They've heard shit a couple of times.
Fair enough.
Probably.
Little pipe problem there. I think we're okay. At least it didn't get into my Mr. Beer.
Yeah, I wouldn't have ever ruined that glass.
Yeah, so what I told Shauna tonight was that, if you're going to be in charge of the reviews, you at least got to keep up.
Right.
None of this being a week behind business. And then the other comment I loved this week was the guy who said, well, I don't drink or smoke, so I eat chicken soup while I watch it. Hey, whatever floats your boat.
Yeah, that was awesome, man. I hope you have some chicken noodle soup now, or...
Maybe tomato, maybe French, maybe he does a different soup every week. You never know.
There you go.
But I hope you're enjoying it.
Yeah.
Alright, so let's get to the episode. Episode 5, Kissed by Fire. We are now halfway through the season. What did you guys think of tonight's episode?
And so definitely not as exciting as last week, but I thought there was a lot of good character development this week, a lot of interesting scenes, and so I enjoyed it, just not as, as thrilling as last week, but it was a good episode.
Yeah, I would agree. It was a really good episode, I think, for the purpose that it served. A lot of character development, a lot of kind of catching up on some things that we've kind of missed throughout, that they're trying to just kind of hurry up so that way we know the details of those things. So
Yeah, I actually like this kind of episode a lot because I like the Machiavellian intrigue of people pulling different strings, and especially, I'm sure we'll talk about this more in depth, but the whole thing with Sansa and all that, that stuff to me is one of my favorite aspects of Game of Thrones. But, we did get a pretty awesome action scene at the beginning with Beric Dondarrion versus the Hound.
That's true, yeah, no, I kind of forgotten about.
I think that I would rank that like best sword fight of the series.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
One-on-one combat though.
Jaime versus Ned in season 1. That was pretty awesome.
I liked the Hound versus the Mountain.
Mm-hmm.
That was a
But
pretty
that
cool
one was
episode.
shorter.
It was very short.
It was very short, but it was telling, maybe.
Yes.
It's definitely up there.
It is.
Up there.
It's top 3.
So should we start there?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so we have the Hound gets trial by combat. He wins, but Beric Dondarrion also wins because he gets brought back from the dead for the 6th time.
Lucky guy.
Yeah, and they did a good job with the wound, I felt, because I remember him describing in the book, I'm like, man, that's pretty grisly. I wonder how they'll do that in the show, and they did a good job. And
Yeah.
Do you think it was obvious? I know we got the little dialogue later between him and Thoros and Myrrah that made it more obvious, but do you think it was obvious to a non-book reader that he was dead? Because I know Shauna kind of said, she hasn't read the books.
Right.
But she was going to say, oh, so he's okay? Or
Yeah, I think you're right. They didn't make it very clear what was going on. He was doing, he kind of just huddled over him and was saying...
In the book, he doesn't even huddle over him right away.
Yeah.
Everybody kind of leaves and is like, oh, there you go. And then he kind of... they did the same step out from behind kind of a deal.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't think... It was a little less clear than it could have been.
We needed one good shot of, his dead face.
Right,
something like that. But very awesome sequence. I loved everything we got with the Brotherhood without banners this week.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought that was really good, and the flaming sword was really cool.
Yeah.
Cool special effects. I don't know how they did that all, but I thought it looked really nice. So.
Yeah, that was awesome. And good job of calling back the Hound's fear of fire without needing to explicitly state it. But just the look on his face when he sees that the sword is on fire, that was pretty cool.
Yeah. And it's an interesting scene too, because we have the Lord of Light, right, basically judging that the Hound is innocent.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how far you want to say he's innocent, but at least of the crimes proclaimed at him. So in the book, does that mean he's really innocent, you think, or what does that mean for him?
Well, that's interesting because it's obviously we have this whole system of trial by combat, which is historically something that really happened in the Middle Ages. And you can imagine that that's maybe not the best way to dole out justice. And I think we see earlier in season 1 where Tyrion has his trial by combat that it's kind of a mockery.
Right.
But here, there's always a sense when you start dealing with the Lord of Light that things are a little more real than when we're dealing with the Seven. So there is a sense where maybe in this case, this is a legitimate means of trial within the story.
Right.
So I don't know, because his defense is basically, I was just taking orders.
Right.
Which is not the strongest defense,
But I get back in those days, it probably was the case. If he wouldn't have followed what the prince at the time said, he might have been killed himself. So
that's true, and somebody else is going to go do the job.
Right. So
very true. So and then we get Gendry stays behind with the Brotherhood without banners, and they're on their way to Riverrun to ransom Arya to her family.
Right.
So hooray for Arya, right, guys?
Yay!
Well, we won't say anything.
Should we just go to Riverrun then and go to Catelyn and Robb?
Really good stuff in Riverrun this week. So the Karstarks went their Karstark way, and we see them murdering children, which is always exciting in Game of Thrones universe. But that was a pretty cool sequence. What do you guys think of the whole, Karstarks burst in, they do their thing, and then later Robb executes them, including Rickard Karstark, against the advice of his mother and wife and pretty much everybody there.
Right. Yeah, that was interesting to see him, he's doing what his father said, taught him, right, to do the execution himself. So, pretty tough, I would think, for him to kill a family friend like that. So I thought that was a really interesting scene, just to see how he's kind of almost following Ned's footsteps, because you would think if Ned was in that same situation, I could see him doing the exact same thing, right? He wouldn't have shifted.
Right, because it's all about honor, it's not about the politics of the situation.
Right.
Which is really kind of what the Starks are all about.
Though it's a great callback to the first episode, right, where we meet Ned, where he's executing somebody. So it's obviously meant to evoke that sense of emotion, but I think there's a sense, both in the show and in the books, where we realize that Robb is doing everything that Ned would do, but somehow where it would be successful for Ned, it's failing miserably for Robb.
Yes.
So it's almost like he's trying to follow his dad's playbook step by step, but he doesn't really know how to do it outside of just going through the motions.
Right.
Yeah.
And so Robb's army falling apart at the seams, but he has a plan.
Yes, he does have a plan.
Take on Casterly Rock, but first we gotta go see those Freys. So
The Freys, the favorite family, I get it. They're just.
I wish the Freys were in the show a little bit more. I love the Frey. I mean, I hate the Freys, but they're so creepy.
Yes.
Yeah, really, they do. Yeah.
They should just call them Craster South.
Right. Maybe they're related somehow. I don't know.
I think they have to be. That'll be like the big final reveal on the last page of the series.
Oh, no, second to last.
Craster, yeah. Okay, so that was some interesting stuff, and I think we don't want to say too much about all that for the sake of spoilers, since we know what's coming ahead. Where do you want to go next? What do you have in your notes?
Well, so we've got some Cersei stuff, but it wasn't anything too interesting. Did you guys?
Not to the end, but we can talk about that later.
Also, Sansa stuff and Stannis. Maybe the Stannis stuff would be good too.
Yeah, so we got to do Stannis, the North, King's Landing, and Dany. So let's go to Stannis next. So we meet the fam. And that was exciting.
It was.
Yeah, that was interesting, to say the least.
Does Mrs. Stannis now win the award for craziest person in this series?
She does, and she played her role well, I think.
Holy crap!
In the book, that's kind of how I thought of her.
Does she have the dead babies in jars in the book?
I do not remember that.
I don't either.
But I do remember her doing the whole praying to the Lord of Light, almost trying to be Melissa Andre.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. She's working her way there.
Yeah, that was a little disturbing, I'd say, when she starts talking to her babies in the jar. That was...
Yeah.
At various stages of development.
Yes.
So the Stannis fam, a little screwed up.
Mm-hmm.
And then we meet Stannis Jr., who is apparently being locked away in a tower, which seemed a little bit more extreme than in the books. I mean, because she's kind of allowed to...
Yeah, she's allowed to roam around. But in the books, they make it sound like she is far more disabled than she appeared to be in the show. They made it seem like she had some mental handicaps and a couple other different things going on.
Yes. I feel like maybe they changed it a bit to have her a bit more regulated to kind of explain why we didn't see her in season 2, which is fine. And of course we close the episode with her singing her ultra creepy song, no musical accompaniment over the credits. So another interesting musical cue.
If a child sings a song slowly without any music, it could be like the happiest song in the world, it sounds creepy.
It does.
It does.
Totally.
Yeah.
That was messed up. Bring back Bear and the Maiden Fair, I say. But we also saw Davos for the first time.
Yeah, just for a little bit. So that was good because he's a great character.
Mm-hmm.
So
You gotta think we're gonna get Davos out of the cell eventually, though. Well, I don't want to give anything away, but it seems like maybe this is a little bit longer than it was in the book.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Okay.
there's more. He had a cellmate, I thought, in the book, or at least someone near
Well,
him.
maybe
So,
he'll get
yeah,
there.
maybe we'll get there. So sorry, don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah.
Jeez, just hold on.
Nobody's yelled at us about spoilers this season, which I'm a little surprised at because in season 1, people were yelling at me all the time. So either I've gotten better, or people have gotten less picky, or option 3, none of you is Matt, and Matt is like ultra spoiler phobic, and so he goes, no, don't spoil. So then he plants the idea in people's head that they should yell at me about spoilers. So
Yeah, I think we've done pretty well of staying away.
yeah, so quit your whining, people, preemptively.
Okay. So, Stannis developing.
Yes.
Things are starting to happen. We're starting to get a little bit more character development.
And then we get Dany, which at first, this really focused on her, Jorah Mormont, and Barristan Selmy.
Right.
And at first I was a little annoyed because it's like, why are they getting along so well? They've got this whole bromance thing going on. That's not in the book.
Right.
But then we see that, they don't like each other after all.
Right.
You can see Jorah at the beginning there when it starts out. He's really trying to figure out if Sir Barristan heard that he was actually the informant over there. I think at least that's what it seemed like. He was trying to.
Yeah.
Did you know it was me? And so it seems like Sir
I
Barristan doesn't
didn't
know.
catch that. That's
Yeah, because you were kind of
Yeah.
prodding to see, how much did you know? Were you in the small
Right.
council? That sort of stuff. And then it seemed like, okay, he doesn't know anything about me
Yeah.
being the spy. And then later on, he goes as far as to say, I was here protecting her from you guys over in King's Landing trying to kill her.
Right,
So-
right.
I just want to go on record here. Somebody has chugged their Mr.
Yeah.
Beer.
I
Would you
was
like
given
some
the-
more?
I was given the least amount.
Okay, well, I can compensate for that. There's more bottles if you'd like.
Be ready.
Just want to point out that person who didn't like it the most also finished it first.
Yeah, there's a root beer flavor, I think.
Yeah. A little sugary.
Root beer notes in there. Yeah, but I'm glad that we're getting to the rivalry between them because you had mentioned last week, maybe there was some kind of smile between them.
Yeah.
And we were watching the last week's episode right before this one, and there was in fact a little
A nod or a wink or a...
oops.
There
What
was
did you miss?
not going well. So yeah, there was. And it was intentional. I kind of like the way they set it up this way.
Yeah, I like it now that I see that we're actually getting to where we needed to be.
Right.
But when it was like them riding on horses through the tall grass, it's like...
Little worried, yeah.
Brokeback Game of Thrones. Speaking of Brokeback Game of Thrones...
Nice transition there, yeah.
It's awful.
I was going to say King's Landing for last, but we might as well, since we got that segue right there. I think we better go... intrigue surrounding both Sansa and Loras.
Right.
So Loras up to his dirty tricks once again.
Didn't take him long.
But with one of Littlefinger's spies this time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought that scene was really rushed. It seemed odd for me.
You wanted a longer?
No, let me finish my here now. Explain it a little better.
I can't wait to hear this.
No, so I thought it was very on Game of Thrones-like how they did the whole sequence of everything, right? They had the sword fight, and then we got introduced to his squire, and then we had the one scene, and then right away after that scene, you see that squire talking to Littlefinger, and then Littlefinger talking to Sansa, which is like 4 separate sequences almost within 30 seconds that happened. And I felt
I
like
see what you're saying.
normally they'll play that out over a week or so, a couple episodes, but they were like boom, 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 and then all of a sudden we're at, where Littlefinger knows everything that's going on. So
They just want to spend a little bit more time on the next part of the development of it. I don't know. Yeah, but you got a good point.
That could have been spread out throughout the episode.
Right.
But yeah, it was one of those things too where not terribly subtle in the sense that you see Loras and Oliver, I think his name was, looking at each other. You're like, oh yeah, there's going to be something going on. Oh yeah, there's something going on. Here we go. There's little Oliver and everything. So that was quite something. But I do think that they have improved on the books in one area here. And that's that Sansa's not a terribly interesting character in and of herself. In the book, she's a point of view character, so you have a lot of Sansa's thoughts and everything. Where Sansa is an interesting character is when people are using her or trying to use her. And so Sansa in this episode, to me, is fascinating, not because of anything she's doing, but because of what everybody else is doing because of who she is.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. And yeah, that was enjoyable to see how they're playing off each other. And then again, at the end, we kind of saw some more of that. But
right. Well, before we get there, the North.
Okay. Now I couldn't waste the segue.
Yeah, no, that was great.
So we have
segue. Right.
So, brief trip up to the North. Jon breaks his vows. Exciting fashion. Is the one guy who is the warg, who's looking through the eyes of the eagle, is that Gareth from the UK office? I think it is.
I haven't seen enough UK Office to know. Have you watched it at all?
I've watched the one episode.
Oh, that's so
I'm
much
really glad
better
you're
than...
down here.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. British humor, guys.
That's why I've only watched one episode.
Oh, what are you even doing here? Next year you tell me you don't even like Monty Python.
No, I can't say that.
Okay, so you can stay. But yeah, I think that's Mackenzie Crook. I'll have to double check. If I'm wrong, then that's 2 casting notes I've been wrong.
So Sean might have to take over the
Take
show.
over.
Yeah.
But yeah, not a ton that went on in the North, except the significance of seeing Jon break his vows and really getting sucked into the wildling camp now.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, maybe people don't like going to the book sometimes, but when I was reading the book, that whole scene, it seemed like they were wandering deep down into this cave, into this place they couldn't get out of, and this, they can't really get translated to the show, which I wasn't bothered by at all. I just thought it was a little different.
I like the backstory behind the cave too in the book, where it's like there was a way under or through the caves to get to the other side, but so many people have gotten lost trying to find it that what is it they call them? I forget. Somebody's children or something is the name of all of them, and then it comes back a couple of times in the book. It's just kind of I don't know why I like that.
Well, hopefully we didn't spoil something just there, because I guess
I don't think so, 'cause I don't
they're still in the
remember
cave right
that.
now, so.
I think they're coming out eventually. A few more episodes.
Season 8. I mean,
Season 8. They just decide to really stretch out Jon's story. That's when you know HBO's gone too far with their nudity. We have a 6-season sex scene. So anything else in the north before we head back to King's Landing?
Well, it was just his lie, right? He's telling a lie about how many soldiers are in the north. So,
Right. There's probably around 300, and he said 1,000.
Yeah.
So he's trying to make it seem like they're stronger and more formidable than they really are.
so it'll be interesting to see now that he's broken his vows. Will he be more honest with them or not? And how that all plays out.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah. We're not seeing a ton of Mance Rayder this season.
Right.
Which is, they got a pretty big name with him and Syrian hands and for the actor. And so it's interesting that we haven't used him quite as much, but I'm sure we will.
Yeah, I'm guessing they'll probably pick it up at the end of the second half of the season here.
Yes, definitely. All right, so down south, we already talked about Loras and Sansa.
What do we got? We got Brienne and
Oh yeah, we got
Jaime, which was a great scene. I think that was my favorite scene of the show this week.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's where it's such a Game of Thrones type thing to do, to take what seems like a straightforward situation. Jaime is sworn to protect the king's life and then he murders him, so of course he's a terrible person.
Right.
And assuming Jaime's telling the truth here, which I believe is never really called into question in the books, so it seems like a safe assumption, at least for now. It's a lot more complicated than that. And in fact, maybe Jaime saved a bunch of lives by what he did.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so again, we're kind of seeing Jaime's character, at least your perception of him, kind of take a 180 degrees from where at least for me, where I perceived him in the first 2 seasons.
Right.
So
I thought it was interesting that when he was getting his bandage all rewrapped, that the episode before that he had been just really weak and just like, kill me, I just don't even want to be here. And then he acted actually very, very strong, kind of back to his old strong self at that point, almost like he'd regained some confidence even though he'd lost the one part of him that, really made him who he was.
Yes.
I think it was the biscuit he ate that Brienne told him to, probably.
Yeah, you think the biscuit did it?
What it did it.
And I like that, I'm blanking on his name now, but I like that we got the Maester who's not a Maester guy.
Yeah.
Oh, he had a weird name anyways.
Yeah. But
Yeah, because what was it? Why did he lose it again? His experiments went too far or something?
Yeah, I think that he was trying to bring people back to life or something, like kind of do a Frankenstein type thing. That's my memory from the book anyway, but yeah, they don't really fill in the details here, but he's a bit of a mad scientist type, so I hope Qyburn, I think it was.
Yeah.
So I hope we get to see more of him as the series goes on, because he's an interesting sort of fellow.
Right.
All right, should we talk about Tyrion and Cersei?
Sure, I think that's the last thing we have left, right? Okay.
So Tywin continues to kick ass. He's just awesome.
Yes.
Yep.
And we get a pair of marriages arranged.
Oh, yay.
Yes. Now, I'd forgotten about Cersei's.
She's
supposed to marry Loras.
Loras, yeah.
And Tyrion is supposed to marry Sansa.
Yep.
Yeah, I had forgotten that detail as well. Which was funny to watch her reaction too, right? Because she's really smug because, for whatever reason, Tyrion doesn't want to marry Sansa. Well, it seems almost like he has, somewhat of a conscience, and that was kind of the, revealing for his character too. He cares about Sansa enough to say, "Hey, she's not going to want to marry me."
Right.
So why are you doing this to her?
Yeah.
But Cersei was really excited about that, and then all of a sudden she finds out she has to marry someone else, and she's not too happy.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, you kind of got to feel for Sansa a little bit. I mean, she's almost out of this nightmare situation, and now she's going to be married to a Lannister. So
Yes.
Bad things ahead for Sansa. So overall thoughts on this episode, gentlemen?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought the character, especially like the Jaime scene, like I said, I thought that was really well done. And the Arya scene as well was really, really well done. So it was another solid episode that I enjoyed.
Yeah, I would agree. Just a nice, solid, kind of moving things along. We've had a kind of our last week was kind of one climax, and now we're moving on from there, and we got to move up to the next level, kind of a deal. So
absolutely, yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think that probably not quite as good as last week, but because I like the scheming stuff so much, it was right up there for me. Very solid episode. All right, so we will be back next week. In the meantime, You can always check out our stuff at the sci-fi-christian.com. And we will see you for episode 6 in a week. But for now, I am Ben DeBono.
I'm Ken Pankers.
I'm Ben Kirkwell.
And we are the Sci-Fi Christian. Bye.